to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
Huzzah!
You threw me off. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such provide new guards for their, and such the necessity which constrains them to alter their former system of government. The history of present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to the candid world.
Boo to King George.
Boo.
He has no right.
He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them.
Who does he think he is?
He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of larger districts of people, unless those people would relinquish their right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable for tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at the places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, and for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved the representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people.
How dare he?
He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative power, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise. The state remain in the meantime exposed to all dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for the purpose of obstructing the law for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to law for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their office and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass the people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us, in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of the legislature.
Death to King George.
He has affected to render the military independent of the superior civil powers. He has combined with others to subject us to jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and acknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to the acts of pretended legislation.
Down with the king!
For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states.
How dare he?
For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world. for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us, in many cases, of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rules into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the form of our governments, for suspending our legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun with the circumstances of cruelty and perfidy, scarcely parallel in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy to the head of civilized nations.
Were I a man, I would fight, would thee not?
He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of free people.
Huzzah!
Nor have we been waiting in attention to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must, therefore, acquiesce, accept in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace friends.